This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Cheech. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Welcome to a new episode of Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by J Concepts and High Octane Coffee. I'm Dan Agash. Brad Shaw is right now probably in Canada doing something with his life. He's probably working. He's right now going around with 2 jobs and stuff like that. But anyway, right now it's a different episode that we normally do. We normally do monster trucks, so it's involving monster trucks, but the drivers themselves are RC racing. But we're going to do a different format, and this is one of 2 guests that we're going to have on this podcast, and it's a little bit behind the scene of the videography. People that, record the shows, kind of make their own version of, TNN's Trucks and Tractor Power, or, Tough Tracks on ESPN, or, like United States Hot Rod shows on ESPN. Different shows around the area, around the world. And one of them, our first guest, he's from the East Coast and around the Virginia area. And it's pretty cool to have him on. He's been actually growing in his YouTube channel. And he's also known as a pretty cool historian, and he owns the Back Channel production group on YouTube, and it's Nick Davis. How you doing today, sir?
I'm all right.
Yeah, we all are. But let's start on what pursued you to do videography. And I know you've always been loved monster trucks when you were younger, but how did you mesh the 2 together?
Well, my uncle growing up was a videographer, so when we would go to usually to the Frederick County Fairgrounds or Fishersville, he would have a video them. So I had a small library of home videotapes, and kind of over the years of him growing up, he kind of stopped going. I would just go by myself, and then I started wanting to do this thing where I would try to talk promoters into letting us actually shoot, and it never. And then incidentally, I was also at a couple of Deal Wilson shows. We had one of those Carter mini monster trucks, so I drove that. So I was behind the scenes there, so we had a little bit of pit video too. So I started taking what I had from the video libraries and trying to pitch it to promoters, and eventually in 2016, Mike Vaughters Sr. allowed us to go out to Fredericksburg, Virginia, and shoot a show there, and it just kind of grew out of that. It was supposed to be a part-time kind of hobby thing, and it just sort of grew into something that we're kind of doing full-time now.
Which is pretty cool, because now you have a whole group, and I think it's pretty cool that you guys have went from Vaughters to who other productions outside of Vaughters and special events have you done?
I've done stuff for MTRL. They were one of the first groups they were one of the first promoters that kind of got us outside of Vaughters, and the first promoter that I worked for outside of Vaughters was actually with Vaughters as a kind of joint show, but it was with JM Productions, or JM Motorsport Productions, which is how I met Tim, which is why Tim and I have been friends kind of ever since. And he's pushed us toward Pat Winchester, so we're trying to work on some stuff with Storm Tough Trucks, and then Brian this year with All Star we worked with. And I can't, I know, Ed Beckley, I can't forget Ed Beckley, with Checkered Flag, or No Limits, as he's been calling it these past few years. He actually Tim got us out to Pocatello, but Tim convinced Ed to take us out to Pocatello, and Ed graciously flew us out there, so we were able to make a Pocatello episode.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. And but now, right now, you are doing special events, which is pretty awesome, and that you got to do that. Normally, it's always been the Monster Blog, and normally took advantage of the 4-wheel drive jamborees, but it looks like lately they're kind of slowing down lately with material. I mean, just a few months ago, they finally did the championship for the Toughest Monster Truck Tour, and that was maybe 5 months ago. I mean, not 5 months ago, probably 4 months ago. And it's cool that you guys are actually producing content that excuse me, Lima was in June, and you guys are now producing content with Lima coming up, and you guys just got done with doing Bloomsburg.
Yeah, we're trying to get a quick turnover rate. The jamborees are tough because it's the way that I cut the shows. I try to keep them more for viewer length, because the shorter stuff is on YouTube. Usually, the more views it'll get, and that'll kind of justify spending as much time on it. But if there's a reason to make a long episode, I'll make a long one. But also, when I started that, it was supposed to be kind of a tribute to trucks and tractor power and that whole Diamond P thing. So getting the jamborees was really cool, and that we actually, it's funny you mentioned the Monster Blog. Those guys, I'm going to be doing a show with Chris in Concord this year with the Monster Blog, not as my productions, but with his Mean Duck.
Yeah.
And so Chris, I owe a lot to Chris to be able to do a lot of the stuff I've done. Actually, those guys, but I know those guys are just, I mean, it's just, as you, I guess, growing up, you become a grown up in the world of monster trucks, and if people have kids, I know, your own team there, Stephen, wow, what's it? Is it Stephen Walker?
Yeah, Stephen Walker and Max Productions and stuff like that. I think.
Yeah, and what's his name? He just had his. Oh, I should. You just remembered. I worked for. I should mention. I did do shows with them, and they were always. I love working with those guys. Yeah, Lernerville twice in 1 year, and those guys were great to work with, and all the Pittsburgh guys were up there. Wiki and Andy and Warnick and all those guys were up there, and those guys are always fun to see. And we run into you when we're up that way, and not as often as I'd like, but
yeah,
we cross paths, and that's always fun. But yeah, it's just having a quick turnover rate, something we've worked on, and J.R. Seasock, who introduced me to Tim Howard, who introduced me to Pat Winchester. That's kind of how that's the reason we got the Jamboree series. No one was really covering the tough trucks with any real full-time coverage, and having come through with Tim's an old tough truck racer from the early, like the Score Series days and the Cornfield 500, when they run real serious tough trucks out there. And that's kind of how, and that's the reason why I brought Tim on for the Jamborees, because I wanted somebody there that I could throw to in the pits that knew what they were talking about when it came to those tough trucks. And he's learning how to do stuff in front of the camera really quickly. He's gotten, leaps and bounds better, and hopefully we'll have him out in Indy again. He's got some scheduling conflicts, but, if it weren't for Tim introducing us to Pat, JR introduced us to Tim, and Pat wanted, somebody there to cover the tough trucks. So when I asked him, he was more than happy to try to get us in the door for that. And of course, we're going to be there. We're going to cover the monster trucks, because you're not going to be at the Jamboree and not cover the monster trucks. It would be sort of blasphemous to jump over the monster trucks.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, sorry, this is not live, but this is recorded. I'm eating dinner too, so now I sound like a chubby buddy. But with the Jamborees, though, it would that, I guess that would help your portfolio. So, are you starting to get other promoters calling you saying we want to kind of get the coverage, or are you still setting you know this is my portfolio of what I have done, and this is what I could do for you?
A little bit of both. I mean, we're not. It's nice. It's probably a good thing right now because I'm still navigating this. Kind of learning how to actually do business instead of just do it as a hobby. It's still a hobby, but I'm trying to kind of flip it over, and I'm trying to make it pay for itself because if you do it too many things for free for too long, you'll end up not being able to do it. So I've been fortunate enough to get enough business to cover the stuff I've had to do for free, and then the free stuff has ended up being a blessing usually because those are usually, I get a lot of you get positive feedback on being able to make a episode or highlight coverage or something out of a smaller show and present that. And those are a lot of the shows too where those teams you don't get just the Monster Jam fans, but like fans that can't afford to go out to they're way out in the country. They do those little fair shows and see somebody like Mikey or like Ryan and Perry with like Rat Nasty and those trucks that kind of run real hard on that maybe smaller platform show and still do such a big show. Those fans are a lot of the people that drove me wanting to do this. So it's cool to be, because I'm one of those people. We live, Hagerstown was the closest to like Monster Jam, we could get until they built the Verizon Center. So we didn't really get any of the stadium shows. So those events were always real important to me. And then, so that's sort of, those are the people that still come and want us to work for them. And then I'm hoping that over the next couple of years we'll get asked more, but it is kind of a good thing. I think that I'm still having to seek out people to work for, because it's kind of keeping us, I guess, modest. So we're not, I don't think that we're so great that we're owed this or owed that. We kind of have to keep pushing for it. It keeps us working real hard, and but I like it that way. I like having to constantly be moving and trying to find something different to do. But I'm hoping that we can keep doing stuff like the jamborees, certain events that are more varied in what's the material we can get, because I like doing that. To me, that was sort of what I grew up with the monster trucks. So doing those events that have motorsports at them is always pretty cool. And the tough trucks have actually opened the doors to other monster truck stuff, like I said. So it is very, I get some requests. I still have to look for some. So it's a little bit all of that.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's a little bit like with the podcasts I have. It's a self-run production. Lately, since we got High Octane Coffee on board and J Concepts, they give us stuff. Well, give me stuff that I can do giveaways on. Which is cool, because then we get more content and more people will come in, and then stuff like that. And then I also got welcome to with Jeff with the Hall of Fame, so I'm gonna do a live on podcast at the Hall of Fame. But he told me not to show anything if there's anything special, so I'll be probably in front of Equalizer and Taurus and doing a 2-hour maybe live video, people just walking in, BSing with me, and talking, chatting, and all that jazz. It's starting to grow. I think the fan base, we're at a number right now where I don't think yet that we should push the people that should want sponsor type money behind it. Because this is still a hobby for some of us, and but we're entering that domain, like you said, that now we have to start making it into like a business product. The popularity, the people are listening to the podcast, and we're entering domains of more than just monster trucks in general. We're branching out to behind the scenes or RCs and stuff, and can't complain one bit about what's going on. And It's pretty cool too that we talked earlier and see if we can mesh, promotions, I guess, and try to help each other out,
Hmm.
making our companies bigger than they are before.
Well, and that's something we did with we have those little what do you call them, like stings at the end of the first segment of the shows we do now. I always end with that Monsters Monthly plug because those guys Duran took us on through the monster blog, so it's like if I've and I've run into literally I've been like fortunate enough to work between people, and I haven't had it in this part of this domain yet where it's been this internet stuff. I into too many people who hate each other so much they won't work together. But the monster truck world, there's a ton of that. So
Yeah.
promoters and drivers just will not talk to each other. They don't want to do business with each other, and we've been fortunate enough to stay off of that kind of that political spectrum of that, where there's the office monster trucks and the business politics of motorsports and all that, and we've been able to kind of jump around to promoters, and some of them don't necessarily get along, but they don't seem because we kind of treat them all the same, which has been something I made a point of doing when they start getting more, which I noticed that was something that you and with people you've done interviews with and that you've done material with, I've noticed. And you got how many of you guys are there?
You mean
5 of you guys?
Well, serious. Two full time, I guess, with me and Brad. Roach and Bert do a lot of stuff off the scenes. They do a lot of the Bloomsburg, and then they fan them out.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple added on. Jason from J Concepts and Josh Rhodes. They are with me on the episodes of Kicking It Old School, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I bring a guest that is from the past or still driving today, but they had a past history, and we just talk about their past and their trucks they drove or what they do now and how they are, and get today's fans into what they were. No one knows. Only if you're a diehard historian, Kid Rarick and Thunder Chicken. Well, let's talk about them. It's kind of like that. Brad, he's gonna branch off in our product a little bit with NHRA. He has Dalton Hastings with him. So he's branching out a little bit. But for my group, me and Brad still have the original show that me and him do. But with scheduling conflicts, it's just easier for us to if I just start producing, a little bit of solo material, he will join in, but it gets more product in. The connections I have working in the industry, I can get people from the past and from the present to one, and I really thank the Hall of Fame. I think without the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't be able to meet Gary Strem or or some of Mike Wine. Some of these awesome people that have paved the way for us. I never got the chance to meet them if it wasn't for the Hall of Fame. Heck, it wasn't for the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't get the chance to meet you or other Mike or Mark Warner or Mike Crumberford or I can name a bunch of these people because I'm going to do an episode with Mike and Troy. Those guys make some awesome models that you would be like, if you put that on the tire of that monster truck, it look exactly the same, just one really, 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 really smaller than the other. You've seen those models. Those models are to a T.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Troy. I met Troy in 2015, and I think he auctioned off a model that wasn't in the auction initially, but I think he threw one in there at the dinner table. He had a Predator sitting at the table with him, but yeah, it was Troy and Mike I met through the Hall of Fame, and you and Mark. I'd actually met Mark in Concord earlier that year in 2015, but yeah, I kind of got to know all you guys through the Hall of Fame, which is always cool. It's like I thought one time, and if you haven't gone, you got to go. it's an awesome thing. It's, you know, all those people in one place. Well, it's got a real everybody's just chatting. It's real nice. You don't feel like you're starstruck, but you don't feel like you're bothering these people when work. It's just chatting. It's a real casual atmosphere. It's nice.
And like you said, it's just like no one's afraid. You can go up and talk to people, and heck, some of them come up to you and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Which is pretty cool. Because when I first went to the Hall of Fame, I was just a fan. Then the second time I went to the Hall of Fame, I just got started in the industry. Now I walk in the door, people know me. It's pretty cool, because you talk to everyone, like you said. And now leading up to that, go ahead.
Oh, you mentioned Kid Rarig. We actually we kind of happened into him when we were in Bloomsburg. You mentioned another kind of character. You mentioned you meet at the Hall of Fame as Chris Mormanis, and he messaged. Kid was in, and Kid was at the Bloomsburg Jamboree, and he's there every year, I think. And Chris said, "Well, you should catch up with Kid and do an interview with him." So we got together and did a little 3-4 minute thing with Kid over by Mike Vatter's pit area, and there's Kid mentioned in his interview he may be turning that truck over to that team, the Thunder Chicken. So that truck may end up seeing the light. I hope I'm not that way, but yeah, he mentioned that in the interview that we did with him, that he would be he was looking to finally get that truck done. So hopefully that a museum piece before too long.
Right, and it'd be cool if he brought out the PA Mountain Monster and stuff like that. But with that going on, you are actually one of the few, let's say, main historians of the monster truck world. Very, very few people get the chance to get product or get video from past monster truck drivers and owners and make a collage and keep their history alive. And you recently did one with Jeff Dane in the King Kong DVD. If anyone has a chance, go to I think the Facebook page for King Kong monster truck. And tell us about that. Like, how you I feel like you should. I'm assuming you're honored about people coming to you, or you talking to people and they're trusting you with history that they have.
Yeah, that's always really that's sort of surreal, because it's and that thing where you were talking about where people kind of know you. I've gotten a few now since I started doing. That's another thing I kind of owe. I being able to do that to Chris Parrish as well, because I can't even remember what it was, but I did something. It was probably 2016 also, but he's vouched for me on a couple of occasions when I've been offering to help people, and I try. It's a weird thing to offer to do that for somebody, because you're kind of tapping into something personal for a lot of those guys. Those are literally videotapes that they're either husband, wife, dad, family shot video over the years. So like with Jeff, oddly enough, I happened into that project through Gary Schramm. I did some video for Gary, which is on the YouTube page on those I can't remember what I call them. I haven't done them in classics. And Jeff's truck was in something that I put online. I believe the Undertaker panel truck that he had.
Yeah.
And he said never seen the footage. And he saw it, and he said, I think Gary posted it on his Facebook page, and Jeff saw it, and Gary turned him toward me. Jeff asked me if I wanted to do his videos. It took maybe a year to finally get everything sorted where he could send it, because a lot of those guys, they kind of want to go through and make sure they're not sending you any, personal. But he sent a nice 2 boxes of videos over, and some of them were kind of beat up, and that's pretty common. Those things sit in like storage units for years, and they take on mold and stuff. But what we what we were able to save after I got it done and started kind of logging it, figuring out where each of these venues were and stuff, because that's part of it too. They all, you got to try to figure out where, what you have to sit there sometimes and look at backgrounds. If there's no, if there's no Speedway name on the wall, or there's no real telltale signs, you have to sit there and go through. Like I've been on Facebook Messenger with Chris Parrish going, what, this arena has blue seats and red railings, and they're in this V pattern, and we're going and looking up old arena pictures and trying to figure out, is it this arena? Did it get rebuilt in the 88 maybe? And it's 87, and you're sitting there literally trying to hours. I remember one video he had of Vodder's old, like from 85, 86 maybe, old Black Stallion video, and Vodder's is transporting a truck on 66s down a highway, and we're trying to figure out what venue he ended up at. So I sat on Google Maps, I sat on a satellite image on Google Maps and just followed the exits until I found overhead a ring that is now, I believe, a used car lot or a junkyard or something, but you could see the ring where the Speedway used to be, and then I found the address and I went online, found out what used to be there. So it gets a little involved, but doing that for Jeff later, I think within a month of getting that stuff done, Jeff messaged me and said, you think we could do a DVD? So that was Jeff's idea, and then Jeff directed that DVD over the phone, over emails and stuff. So I would send him a version. He would go, maybe lose this, add this, and kind of trimmed it up, made it longer, made it shorter, and then put out. And I would send him, a draft of it. That, do you like this? And so and then I called him on the phone and had him give me kind of a sequence of how the building of those trucks went. So when I put the footage together, it would be, at least in some kind of an order, because some of those trucks have a sort of convoluted history, and King Kong history is crazy. People try to figure out which truck is which, and I think it's gotten pretty down pat. There's still some questions, but it seems like with everybody on the online now able to kind of talk to each other and share pictures, now you can kind of start putting these timelines together. So that's been helping a lot with doing this video stuff, because I can find pictures from events and figure out, I can look at a truck in the background that's not, I can look at a different truck in the pits and go, well, that truck looked like this. And so the nerddom kind of helps in this case. It's a little irritating to people sometimes, but it getting these tapes logged and stuff, it helps with that. So that was sort of why Jeff decided he wanted to do go ahead and do a DVD, because I guess he just saw something that he would be able to market at the time, and the footage was there, so it was ready made. It was already sitting on the hard drive, and he figured to go ahead and put it out and see how it did. I don't think he expected the response that he got. I can't remember how many he sold, but I remember he asked me how many I thought, and we were kind of debating. We're like, maybe 200-300. If you're not sure, maybe 150. I think he sold like 1,000 first day or something like that. I can't remember. I just remember I think it caught him off guard a little bit how much of a response there actually was to that old footage.
I think that's pretty awesome. I mean, a yes and no question. Have any other people have contacted you to do the same thing?
I've got ongoing work with Marty Garza. He has an extremely extensive collection of both televised stuff and some of his own stuff, and some of that stuff is on. I get a okay from him to post a couple things here and there, because I don't want it all out there. But he's had some cool stuff that he donated to the museum, and Marty's been a really great person has kind of helped with some of the projects we've been working on. And Gary Schramm, I mentioned, J.R. Seasock was actually one of the first people to give me footage years ago. I need to get back to him. I've got a couple things with Tim Bush and Don Z online, but I've got some old Mudbog stuff and a couple other things from Don Zappa that owned the old Milwaukee Iron monster truck. The some people may or may not have seen, but it's an old tube frame truck, yellow and red Ford with big heavy duty coils on it from like 1991, 90, somewhere in there. And he was one of the early guys that tested different suspension designs. And I don't think he was in monster trucks very long. He was a mudbogger, but he had some cool old mudbog stuff too. And I'm into that. Find old Mickey Thompson, MTEG footage. I'm happy. So it's and then I've got a few I can't talk about yet. They're on the back burner, but hopefully they'll come to light. And then I'm working on something. It'll work for indie. Some of the projects I've had going have sort of slowed down more than I would like them to, but working on something when we get to indie, maybe doing a chat with a couple of guys from the old TNT days that are supposed to be in town that day, just as a little side project, just up sort of raw and just an old interview, kind of because I used to do the phone interviews too. I was good at them. I have a couple that I need to finish and post. Actually, I've got an old Army Armstrong interview that I need to post it, and but that actually is how I got in contact with Marty, was doing the interview, and then kind of grew. And then once they helped out Marty, the tape library kind of started growing, and I'm trying to mention anybody I'm not supposed to, so that's why I'm kind of stumbling around right now. But I think I mentioned everybody I can.
This question was just a yes or no one. It was just a yes or no question. You went along with it. I was like, this is yes or no. Oh, yeah, this and that. I was like, well, we'll let you go by. But, you don't have to mention any names. We'll just keep it like that. We'll just move on from the next topic. But actually, not any past, but are you doing anything outside of the jamborees? Are you going to be doing any shows outside of, the four-wheel drive jamborees? And what's your schedule like, let's just say?
At 2 this weekend. I've got one all-star show, and then I'll up in Pennsylvania, and then I'll have one Fredericksburg show, which is a show which we'll probably do forever. That was our first official Monster Power show, so that's just been kind of a tradition. And I'm not sure after I can't remember I can't remember that whole calendar, but it slows down a bit because I tried to make sure we were all our supplies were in gear for for Indy, because it's going to be kind of a long weekend. Probably do Durham, that little horse arena up in Durham, Connecticut, is another one that's been kind of since the beginning. So that's been a closer kind of tradition for me, and I love doing that little event. And so it's kind of probably some tough truck shows are what I'm forgetting, but I cannot think of what they would be, because the calendar's been kind of a mess this year, trying to make sure we leave the schedule open for because there's such long weekends, and having a day job, I have to make sure I don't take too much off time, or that I got to keep support the monster hobby. So hopefully the calendar will fill up with stuff that supports itself a little more next year. The Jamboree people have been real nice to us, so that's Bonnier and then family events, and those guys have been great to us. And we got to see you there, so that was a plus. We got to see you and Christian Norman and swap some stories. And
I can't wait to see that. Are you guys gonna put all that stuff on there, or are you gonna put it back on the shelf?
Come out. I've been picking through it. I'm not sure what we're allowed to show or not, but there was content just because everybody's around each other for so long during that weekend. You're just, everybody's right there. You're just walking open space. It's not like we do the arena shows and everything's sort of, there's these areas you can't go in and you don't really walk around with your video camera just on. Jamborees are just wandering around. And so, you get to see people when they're awake and then dead tired. So everybody's acting kind of goofy. So it's different though. I definitely hope we can do them again next year because we've had a blast.
Right. There's a video that Nick and them recorded with me and Christian, and I don't even think the interview involved anything with monster trucks. I planned it like that, and we were just talking random stuff. So I always thought that was always funny.
Yeah. I think that was supposed to be Tim and Christian, and then set up with our microphone. So we just kind of let you roll it. So.
I just took his mic and left.
That wasn't the only time that happened either. That happened twice. So,
it happened twice?
I learned that was... Yeah, you did it to us twice. But that's fine. That was a good kind of... I always say like a baptism jamborees I didn't realize when I walked in there how busy I would be. Like, I knew I'd be busier than usual, but I thought it would be worse weather-wise, but it's actually been good. Just I've heard the stories about Lima over the years being just a flooded, muddy mess, and it wasn't this. And kind of, seeing how busy everyone was, it was cool though to be working that much. That there wasn't really a lot of downtime because we were jumping from you guys to the tough trucks to this and that, and then being able to walk up to the trailer and grab somebody we want to do an interview was really. The access is not as you're able to pick your spots better because you're not having to wander into a closed pit. But then I know that can be disturbing when you're trying to work on a truck and there's fans like right there. So it's a very different atmosphere than I thought it would be. It was worth going. But yeah, you did that to us twice. So that was so I don't know what we can use from that. It was all fun. I
don't know if there was cussing going on.
I don't think. It was just weird. It was just a strange. But I know you and Christian were roommates, so it makes sense.
It makes it that way, but I just thought it was funny. That's about it. But maybe I'll do a private copy and give it to me and Christian.
Oh yeah, you guys will get a copy of it. It's in the vault right now. It's there's plenty of it because between you, Christian, and Drew, or Mankind, there was plenty of that.
Right. So anyway, where can people find your social media outlets? And people can find you also. I'm just Nick Davis on Facebook. I got another one I got to take down. I got hacked a couple of times on Facebook, so I've got lingering accounts that I've never closed down, and I need to go shut some of those down. But mainly Monster Power on Facebook, Back Channels, and then Back Channel Productions on YouTube, and then I'm on Instagram. I cannot remember what it's like my name with numbers after it. I'm not sure what that is, but pop up from time to time on Instagram. People seem to be able to find me though, so I don't know that I even need to advertise that. But yeah, Back Channel Productions on Facebook and YouTube, and Monster Power on Facebook is where most of the news stuff we post goes on the Monster Power page. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Nick Davis, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Nick from Back Channel Productions and Monster Power. Check us out at Monster Power on Facebook and Back Channel Productions on Facebook and YouTube for tons of monster truck show coverage, up-to-date show info, as well as news from the world of monster trucks. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube at Back Channel Productions.
Welcome back to Crush This, a Monster Truck podcast. That was a cool interview with Nick Davis from, Black Back Channel Productions and the Monster Monthly. Once again, want to add this up to you fans that we're going to try to reach about 3,000 likes, and we have a special guest to do an interview. We already did the recording, but we'll release it for you fans to listen to. Want to also thank High Octane Coffee, Joey Sylvester in Canfield, Ohio, and also Jason Roto and J Concepts. Thank you for everything that you guys have done and all the giveaways and etc. Once again, thank you. So our next guest in our, I guess we do our videography portion of the Monster Truck world, has been doing this for, I guess he's celebrating his 10-year anniversary. And it's pretty cool to see the transitions of what he has, because he has caught some awesome footage. Like the Indianapolis Jamboree between Dan Rente and Bigfoot and Matt Dishman and Ammunition, where they collided in a doubled rollover. He also brought a lot of historical videos to the forefront. Him and Nick, I did a lot of it. I think he's one of the first ones. I think he's the first one that has brought a lot of the old school into the mainstream to bridge together like the Hall of Fame to today's world. He's part of the Monster Blog. He also owns Mean Duck Productions, and he's from Louisville, Kentucky, the home of the Louisville Slugger. This is Chris Parrish. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, Dan, doing great. Good to be on the program, and looking forward to talking to you. Sounds like a fun time.
I tried to do that intro for you. Be the best one ever. I kind of improv'd it, but hey, it's all good.
Well,
yeah.
That's what I expect from you.
Right. So, people know about your Action Tracks program and on the Monster Blog, but maybe people don't know how you got yourself into it. And I know you're a huge Monster Truck fan, so let's start from the beginning. What got you hooked on the Monster Trucks, and which led you to bridge to doing some good film work of Monster Trucks to this day?
Well, I'm like probably a lot of fans. I got hooked as a child. My parents seemed really supportive in the hobby, and so they recorded everything that they could find back in the day. And so I've got all the old TNT programs, all the old USHRA programs, the trucks and tractor power, everything from back in the day. And so that really got me hooked. Our home event was the Hoosier Dome, which later became known as the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. So big dome show every year. How can you not get hooked? After a while, I sort of fell out of the industry for a little while towards the late 90s. I was still paying a little bit of attention, but not as committed. But finally, in the early 2000s, when the Monster Jam World Finals really kicked off, I started getting more interested. And by 2006, I made a journey to the Silverdome. I mean, it's one of the most historic venues in all of Monster Truck. So how do you not want to go? And so my brother and I decided to road trip up there on a whim, still very much casual fans. And by golly, I ran into Mike Wine working the pits while we were at the pit party. I recognize that guy. I've got to go talk to him. I think that's Mike Wine. And so got involved with Mike. He was working with Tony Farrell and Lupe Sosa with Blue Thunder and El Toro Loco, and got involved that way, working with those guys, wrenching on the trucks. Did that a little while, just fan support help, and then got involved with track crew, club work with Monster Jam as well the next year. And so I started building some contacts in the industry, but at the same time, I was still very much a fan, and started thinking, well, I'm having a lot of fun taking photos. I mean, I know a lot of the Monster Truck fans out there enjoy doing that at their shows, and so I just started that way, and gradually got better photo equipment, and technology continued to progress. And so I actually remember my first show doing any sort of photography work. It was kind of a trial basis for the Monster Blog. I had run into Ross and some of the crew with the Monster Blog at the time. I think it may have been at one of the MLMT events, Kentucky or Nashville, perhaps. I may have my time frames off here a little bit, but ultimately made some contacts, made some friends, and I actually did the Cincinnati Gardens Ed Beckley Checkered Flag Productions event as my first photography event. Bill Payne was there, Dan Runte, and the great white Summit White Bigfoot, and it snowballed from there, and it's led to a lot of opportunity. And a couple years later, I saw a need for video coverage and decided to take the gamble and launch into video work, and it's been a fun ride altogether, that's for sure.
So with you doing the video work with Action Tracks, what got you to, you said you wanted to do it, what was there a lot of preparation or planning? Did you have to throw like a profile to Ross saying, I have an idea for this venture that wants to branch out from the Monster Blog? What preparations you had to do to make Action Tracks even be made?
Well, that was something that Ross and I had kind of casually been discussing as I was a photographer, and I was getting to the point where, all right, I needed to either re-upgrade equipment on the photography front, or possibly reinvest in something completely new on the videography front. And personally, I've always been a big fan of seeing old video, and there's nothing I love more, even to the day, than finding home video footage of an old non-televised event that I may not have even known existed, or I had heard fabled stories about and had never seen. And so I think that was kind of in the background getting me towards videography work. But I kind of discussed this with Ross, and he agreed that there was a gap in coverage, and we could use some more video coverage. It wasn't something that had really been done. It was really only Colby Marshall, actually, who is kind of one of the godfathers with the Monster Blog, doing any video work out there, period. And so I'd just be kind of number two stepping onto the scene in all of the industry. And so we kind of talked about things, and we just wanted to do our own spin on programming and to provide some diversity to the fans out there, that some fans like a certain format and some fans like another format. We each kind of did our own little thing, and that kind of led me to Action Tracks. The original idea was to keep it almost like a TV program, providing commentary and keeping the video short, even including a level of commercial break in there, keeping it to somewhere between what would be the equivalent to a half-hour program or even an hour program. So that was my original idea. It's developed a little bit from there, hopefully mostly for the good. But yeah, it was something that we did coordinate, and then it kind of created its own natural evolution as it's gone along.
So now, let people about know was, I think it'd be pretty cool to know what was the first camera that you used for Action Tracks, and now what do you use now?
Well, interesting you ask. I actually still have my original camera. It was a Canon Mini DV tape-based camera, but it was very much kind of low-grade, professional, but maybe high-end, what they call prosumer. But it was a GL2. I actually still use that a lot in my my digitization of home video tapes from back in the day. but standard definition camera, but it treated me well. Great product for what I had at the time, but I've since moved on to a high definition Canon based, I think it was the XL1. It was still a tape based system. And then in the last probably 8 or 9 months, I have upgraded to a Panasonic, I always get this mixed up, AC30, I think it is. It's HD, but it's card-based, and so recording digitally straight to card and having files right there is glorious. It's been a great camera so far, great price point, and so it's been a gradual evolution and trying to get better and better equipment as capability and technology has advanced. It can be a very expensive hobby if you're not careful, and so trying to keep budgetary considerations in the equation has been key, but we've kept it going. We've got a fleet of onboard cameras as well, GoPros and Ions, and it's created a lot of options for capturing footage, and I hope it's something that all the fans love, seeing all the different camera angles.
Now, outside of that, too, when you picked your camera for your choice, did you also have to include the audio? It seems like since you're have a different format, audio with the microphone and etc. seems pretty important. I would think. For you, is that what you have to pick for your camera too, to get good feedback on the mic?
Yeah, it's actually even beyond just a mic. It becomes microphones, because like I've got a microphone for capturing audio such as the trucks on the track. I've also got a microphone for interviewing drivers. I've got to use a separate microphone for that. A handheld mic. I've got a lavalier mic for attaching to a shirt collar or something along the lines of that. And I've even got a separate mic for doing voiceover work while doing the actual video editing. So it gets expansive there. And then even beyond that, I really like having the stability of a tripod, and so I've got a pretty solid tripod that I try to carry around, and then you add in the shoulder mount, and so you get a little bit of everything, and it takes a lot to stay fully ready for any environment that you can be cast into, because with monster trucks, every venue is different, and so you never know what you're going to be working with as far as where safety will allow you to stand, where you'll be able to set up, and so you just have to be flexible. Unlike a lot of other filming industries where you might be more on set or in a set position, monster trucks afford us a certain flexibility, but it can also be difficult to work within the safety confines too, and so that's always the forefront of our thought process as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you have you've been doing action tracks for 10 years, and give out a shout out for that, Chris, for lasting that long and still going. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'd love to say it's all me, but it's definitely not. I mean, without the support of the fans actually watching the program every time one comes out, it'd be hard to motivate oneself to continue to do it. And so the fact that people do continue to watch it, and we've got a very loyal fan base. I mean, we just released one of the biggest events of the year that we cover. And it was actually kind of amazing because from the day the event ended until it was finally released, we had people constantly asking, hey, when's it going to be out? When's it going to be out? And so people not only are watching it when it comes out, but they're pining for it. They want these episodes to come out. And so that's very flattering. And so I know it kind of echoes throughout the industry, but without the fans, it wouldn't happen. And so it's been wild to think that it's actually been 10 years of action tracks. But it's been an amazing ride. It's helped me grow personally. I do get a lot of personal growth out of it. I do the commentary, and that's not just to annoy people with the sound of my voice throughout the entire episode. It's actually helped me with some of my communication abilities. It's helped me with public speaking. I've had a stuttering problem before, and it's something that's really helped me speak a little more fluidly. And so I've grown there, and just and beyond that, the process of editing and bringing an artistic creation to light or to life has really been a cool process to me, because I'm trying to convey the raw excitement and thrill of these huge trucks that you're only watching on a video. So it's been really neat to watch it all play out, and I hope it's something that continues. Life always changes, but it's been a great ride so far, and I'm just so appreciative of everything that's happened and been involved, and all of the support that we've received.
Now, a big testament to you, which before I die, I'm sorry, is Bigfoot giving the reins to you on making a sequel to one of their popular VHS tapes of Bigfoot King of the Monster Trucks, and you were the one in the creator of the second version of that. How was that? And like I talked to Nick in the previous interview, he helped out doing the he helped out on you guys. He helped Jeff Dane out, let me just say, on the King Kong DVD. Well, for you helped out with Team Bigfoot. So how was that experience, basically getting trusted by the original Monster Truck team?
Yeah, it was kind of a childhood dream come true, if you will. That's one of those tapes that I just wore out back in the day. Kramer and Galloway going down the road, I just always thought that was kind of the pinnacle of monster truck video productions. And so I'd had a good relationship with Bigfoot, and so I'd kind of come up with this idea. I'm like, I'd like to do this with somebody, go up and down the road and just kind of see what it's like, and try to show off some of how it works going down the road and behind the scenes. And I ended up thinking about the idea, and I'm like, well, this really is just like King of the Monster Trucks. And so I have a good relationship with Bob C. Chandler, Bob Jr., if you will. And so I pitched the idea to him. I created the story, wrote up the script and everything, and provided the outline, and we kind of worked from there to make it a usable piece. And so Bob and I worked together and kind of created a plausible idea, and it developed from there. It went through a number of variations, both in script and in final production. But it was a very neat experience to get to host a Bigfoot video release, but also to be able to be such a big part of the Bigfoot family on that project. It was very much a exciting project to run through. It definitely took a lot of work, but it was a heck of a way to start your first video release project.
Yeah, I thought that was always cool. Like I said, with Nick with the King Kong, and now also with you with the Bigfoot. With both of you guys, let's just say, have a lot. One thing in common is you guys are somewhat of a, let's say, a historian of the monster truck world. With you two, you guys have put some coverage on YouTube that people dream of sometimes seeing now come to reality. You know, and it's pretty cool to see that. You know, I mean, I think one of my favorite, personally, one of my favorite videos, I believe you did it. It was a TNT event in Roanoke, Virginia, and I thought that was pretty cool seeing that footage. And also some of the footage. I think there was another one. I think it had First Blood, Four Wheel Crazy. They were crushing cars on a tractor pulling track. I think that was one of the other ones posted up. And what got you to that? And how does it feel also to have people in the industry trusting you on handling their, basically their history?
It's very flattering to be a part of the preservation project that's really going on in the industry. And I've got to say the International Monster Truck Museum and Hall of Fame has really helped bring that to the forefront of people's minds as well. It's helped facilitate a lot of situations where we can just be in contact with some of these people that may have old video. And so I know how precious a lot of these video archives are to the people that own them and or shot them. And so it's very flattering that they trust me to take care of the digitization of their archive while keeping it safe as well. I know I've heard horror stories about people lending out their library and then just never getting it back. And so, I mean, stories like that echo through the industry and kind of give things a black eye. And so I'm trying to prove that, hey, I'll not only give back your library, but you're going to get some A1 level product when you do it. And I mean, this is really a labor of love. This is I'm a fan from back in the day as well. I love seeing that old footage. I mean, I told you that's kind of what got me heading towards doing video work in the first place. And so it really comes almost full circle. But to work with some of the historical figures, even some of your heroes from back in the day, trying to help them preserve their library and their legacy is really an amazing feeling. It's given me the opportunity to see a lot of amazing things that have happened in the past that a lot of us haven't seen, or that we thought there was no known recording of. And so that's been awesome to see some of that stuff. And then even more so, again, bringing it back to the fans, it's great when we can find the appropriate ways to share this video, because we've got to preserve the rights and the ownership of the people who originally shot this video, and so we have to be able to take proper measures to protect it. But we're trying to find ways to put some of that video out there. And back to the Hall of Fame, the biggest one is the Hall of Fame induction ceremony every year in Auburn, Indiana. I know I take immense pride in putting together just the retro throwback DVDs and videos that we're running almost nonstop throughout the weekend. I mean, I really push that just because I know the fans out there like seeing that stuff. There are a lot of old school fans, and particularly at the Hall of Fame, everybody just eating up everything that I can put out there. And so I'm trying to cram as much different footage in there as possible. And it's neat to just sit back and watch people enjoy it or tell stories about it. I mean, seeing people's faces when they see a specific moment on the screen, even some of the former owners and drivers, I'll be standing there watching them, and all of a sudden you can see a light of remembrance click on where, oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, this was there. And these guys hadn't thought about this stuff in 30 years. So we're jogging the memories of some of these historic figures in the industry, and that's really an incredible feeling. And so, again, it goes back to just trying to provide people enjoyment and show them all this stuff that's gone on in the history that may not already be out there in other forms of media. Just trying to fill in the gaps and give people enjoyment.
I think another thing I think a lot of people would love to see is the Dennis Anderson introduction video. A lot of people say they heard about it and how awesome it was, and even Dennis said it was pretty awesome, and I guess some people ever want to see it. I don't know when they'll be able to see it, but it's pretty cool to know that there's some footage of the black and green truck that people may not see that is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's it's been interesting. Of course, anytime you see the old black and green wrecking machine in old video, something wild's going to happen, and so it's always a pleasure when we do find some of that stuff in the home video, and it does take a lot of work to put together these induction videos. For years, Colby Marshall, kind of our video wizard, has graciously helped us with the Hall of Fame as well, and he really specialized in the induction videos, trying to expand my horizons. I've started trying to help out with some of the induction videos in more recent years, and putting together a music video induction video worthy of the people receiving the top honor in our sport is quite a daunting task. Even just picking the music that the induction video will be set to, trying to find something that fits the mood, that the inductee likes, that fits the video, can be very challenging. And so it's different and tough work relative to what I'm used to. But the whole thing is a lot of fun in the end because, again, it's a little more artistic expression, but seeing the inductees say, oh, that was spot on, that was so cool, or can I get a copy of that, and things like that, is again very flattering. And so it's just a lot of fun when we all get together and enjoy the old days, that's for sure.
So let's go outside the video work, because you have done some of the coolest positions in the monster truck industry. Outside the video work, it's up to you if you want to talk about it, your time with the Monster Nationals, and being one of the first staff members of the now Monster Jam Arena Tour, but back then it was called the # Monster Jam Tour. Just if you want to talk about some of the positions that you've been in inside the monster truck industry.
Yeah, as I kind of prefaced earlier as we were heading into the photography and the videography work, I've been fortunate where I've been able to make a variety of connections in different areas of the sport. I've got to go back, and I mean, I can pretty openly state that without Mike Wine and Tony Farrell, I probably would not be involved in the sport. I mean, they really opened the door for me, and then from there I was just able to open it further through other means. But those guys really helped me out. I mean, I was the textbook fan guy, just trying to help around the shop when they were there, because I mean, with any monster truck team, it's an intensive travel schedule, so they're not necessarily always in the shop, but I tried to help them when I was there. It was like a 2-hour drive every time I did it, but I did it, and I did a couple shows with them, and then ultimately they ceased basing the trucks out of Tony's garage and more located in a centralized Monster Jam garage space. I believe they were based out of Chicago after that. But I ran into Blake Hardy at, I believe it was the Columbus Monster Jam, and recognized him from working with Tony and Mike, and started having a conversation with him. I was kind of out in the cold for a little while, if you will, because I wasn't really working with Tony and Mike anymore. And so talked to Blake, and I started doing a little bit of club work or track crew work for Monster Jam, where a lot of the current and former tech officials have started. You start there, you're kind of hanging banners and sweeping, and you work your way up from there through good work ethic and competency, and so I kind of played that a little while and made a good name for myself there, and then started to get involved with Ross as I started doing photography as well, and kind of playing both sides on that one, and eventually I got the call from Monster Jam about being a full-on tech official, and so I went to tech school and did all of that, and did that for a couple of years, and then I heard something about the More Monster Jam tour, now known as the Triple Threat Tour, and had a big hand in starting the first inaugural season of that. We were all learning. I mean, we were working hard, trying to figure out where this thing was going to go. It was supposed to be the first legitimate point series in a very long time, and so it had a lot of neat attributes to it. I actually played the role of the competition director, and so I was the bad guy. I had to make all the calls and relay all the scores and determine all the champions based on our fan judges. And so I got booed a couple times, and being booed by 10,000 people is an interesting feeling. But yeah, that More Monster Jam season, we learned a lot, but it was a very satisfying tour. It was cool to start something completely different from what we had seen before. And I guess even before I started in the tech position, what got me into the tech position, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention George Eisenhart. I got in with the Monster Nationals crew, just kind of doing scrub work on the floor, just trying to help. I did photography, I did other little things. I kind of worked as a track crew just a little bit before and after George's passing, and honestly, that was probably the biggest thing that did get me into a tech official position with Monster Jam, was working with somebody as noteworthy and safety forward as George. He was known for very much being a professional monster truck promoter, doing a great job putting on quality and safe shows, and so that was looked upon very highly when seeking other positions within the industry. And then from there, I mean, through George and Monster Nationals, I got hooked up with Perrin Motorsports some, and I was traveling around with Little Miss Dangerous, with Joss and Jeff Perrin, with Little Miss Dangerous, or High Maintenance. We did a lot of Thunder Nationals events, concrete events. Great family to work with. Worked with them some, and when they got the I believe it was 2012 Team of the Year award from Monster Jam. So that was a great moment in their history, and I was glad to contribute my little part. But a lot of things have just added up over the years. I do a couple big events each year. I love working the Bristol event, and I love working the Charlotte event, the Back to School Bash. So I've got some great big events that I do almost annually that are great. Typically some variation of competition director and tech official. And so everything's kind of swirled together in one big pot. And it's kind of formed my history over that time. It's been a very interesting ride in the industry. And it's a little addictive. Like I when you're putting on a show or helping to put on a show, or even just putting together a video, seeing the reaction of the fans makes all the difference in the world, and it makes all of the very long hours involved in any position in this industry very much worth it.
So let's go to the Monster Nationals. Tell us a story about the you guys sitting on the couch.
Yeah, that was a good one, and it was actually completely impromptu. As I age, my memory starts to fade a little bit, but that was part of a promotion, I believe, or a gimmick going on at the event. It may have been in conjunction with some sort of furniture store as well, but it was a 2-night show, and each night we carried this rickety old couch out and set it on the cars for freestyle, and the monster trucks were going to crush this couch. And so this happens night one, and then so I watch all of this, and night two, I hadn't been working with the Monster Nationals very long, so maybe it was a little cheeky of me to go on my own there. But I knew George kind of stayed out there and talked about the couch for a second. But two of us carried it out there and set it on the cars, and by golly, I just kind of took a lead. I plopped down and sat down on the couch, and I think George, being the pro that he was like, I think this kid's got something. He's onto something, and I think he followed my lead in that situation, and so we sat back, relaxed, and did the whole spiel on the couch in front of the crowd, and it just kind of chilling there. And it's still one of my fondest memories. It was one of those fun moments. I love that somebody got the photo, and that I actually have a copy, because George is certainly one of those individuals that is sorely missed, but memory does live on, so it's great to have those.
So talk about, another cool thing I think a lot of people get to know about you in the monster truck world is your hobby is not one scale, but also 10th scale RCs. I'm part of the same group as you are, so I wanted to know, how you like doing the Trigger King events.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know if I ever expected to get as involved in as I have, but I've kind of accepted. I'm probably never going to be a one-to-one monster truck driver, but on a much more affordable front, I can handle the 1/10 scale a little bit more, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's one of those things where the people have really made it worth the effort to participate in, but it's fun putting together your own truck. It's fun designing. I really like designing bodies. That's kind of my big thing. At first, I really liked doing my own ideas, my own names, and creating identities for them. But gradually, I've started doing replicas, and now I have a deep love for creating replica trucks. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's a competitive group without taking anything too seriously. Like we're all still friends. We have a good time together, and none of us get too wound up about anything. And so I think that's what really keeps me coming back. But we're all pretty much monster truck fans, and it's just having a little fun. I mean, are we nerds? Yeah, but we're all nerds. If you're a monster truck fan, we're probably a level of nerd, and we're just having fun being nerds, racing our little monster trucks. It's certainly a heck of a time. You've gotten more involved, and I think you're having a good time too. It's a fun atmosphere, full of competition and camaraderie, and so it's been cool to start messing around on that side.
It is, and it's also that the team that I'm with, Hall Brothers, they accept it, and they always talk about when's your next race, when's the next race, and it's pretty cool that they're kind of easing up on me on doing some of that stuff. Which I'm growing, and I love every minute of it. I don't even care how I finish. It's just how just the atmosphere is pretty cool, and it's some of it takes a toll, kind of like how you were going to Miami and I was coming back from Nashville, and we still try to make time even though our sleep meter is on the negative. But we still made time to go ahead and race some RC trucks in the Bigfoot shop. But like I can't complain one bit. All those guys are freaking awesome, and they after you do a few rounds, you basically become like family. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yep, I definitely agree. It's cool to go from a 1-to-1 scale event down to driving your own 1/10 scale the next day. It's just, as a fan, it's something fun to do, and the atmosphere makes it friendly enough that you can be great, you can be terrible, you can have the best equipment, you can have the worst equipment, but it really doesn't matter. Come out, have fun, and hang out for the day. We'll probably talk monster trucks, new and old. We'll be nerds. We'll break stuff. We'll race stuff. We'll talk smack. It's a good time all the way around.
Yeah, I tell you that much. And it's pretty cool also that we're racing basically the holy grail of monster trucks. That would be definitely the Bigfoot shop. I think that's pretty cool that we get the race there. And once again, I would probably like to thank Bob for even letting us have a chance to that, and also Doug for even setting up this league that we have, or I guess we could say it's a RC club. But is there any memories or any races that you have recorded that got stuck to your head that always gives you a smile, I guess?
I mean, one of the wildest moments, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is always the Runte Dishman race in Indianapolis, the dual rollover on the S track at the Indianapolis Jamboree. That was certainly a wild moment. Filming my first event, I still have fond memories of. That was Bristol 2009, which I believe was the first time they did a Bristol event, and so I believe I've been at all of them now, or at least almost. So very cool, and filming some of the Silverdome shows when after several years Monster Trucks came back there, kind of to do one last hurrah. It meant a lot to film an event in the Silverdome just because of the historical significance. But even to something like the steel wall crash that I just filmed recently, or Larry Swim's last show with Bigfoot. There are all kinds of little moments that have been very neat to be a part of, and being able to capture them and trying to find the most accurate way to emotionally capture them. And that probably sounds a little bit funny, but trying to capture all of the emotion in a situation with video, it can be difficult sometimes, while trying not to be invasive either. So lots of cool things out there. I'm glad that some of these events have been preserved for all history now. I think that's the biggest satisfaction out of all of it, is knowing that there will be good quality video of these events going forward in the future, and they are protected and preserved.
And I think that's really awesome that you'd be able to do that. And also, maybe I got a few questions, some important hard-hitting questions for you. And the first one goes to, what's your favorite pie?
My favorite pie? I'm going to go with strawberry. There's a great world of pies out there, but I'm going with strawberry.
All right. Well, right now, Apple's in the lead with 7. Strawberry's a nod. So you're by yourself on this one.
That's okay. I usually am.
It's all right. But that's about it for hard-hitting questions.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was ready to feel the bat, and okay, hitting with the pie. Okay.
Yeah, you always have to hit with the pie. The pie is very, very, very important. Also, if there was
definitely argue with that.
With that also, is there any type of social media people can follow you in? Keep track on Mean Duck Productions or Action Tracks, or even yourself?
Yeah, you can always catch Action Tracks on YouTube on the Monster Blog channel, and then on Facebook we've got the Monster Blog, and I've also got a separate Mean Duck Productions page, so feel free to check that out. If you're interested in the RC scene, you can check out Mean Duck Racing, or Mean Duck RC Racing, and then on Instagram, you can follow, or Twitter, Instagram or Twitter, you can follow me at Cripari, at Cripari, CHRIPARRI, and kind of keep track of what I'm doing, or what the production company is doing, or a little bit of everything. Both Instagram and Twitter are kind of a mishmash of everything going on, so it's kind of one uniform location.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. But thank you for this interview, this conversation that we're having. It's pretty cool to learn about you and how you do your video work and stuff like that. So, man, it was good talking to you.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Cheech, and I, most of all, I appreciate all of the support. You know it, I know it. The people make it happen. So, appreciate everybody, and hope everything you see makes you happy. Enjoy all the content, and we do it for you.
Before I go, do you get any requests if anyone asks you to do a show? Do you ever get that?
Mostly, if I get requests, it's often regional based. It's more people interested in a home show, a show that was in their hometown back in the day. It's not necessarily people looking for a specific moment, or they randomly want to see, I don't know, Miami from 1989. It's, hey, I live in Omaha. Do you have Omaha from 89? Or I live in Orlando. Do you have Orlando from 86? It seems to be very hometown based. People want to reminisce about some of the early shows that they went to, and I certainly can't blame them. I do the same thing. I've got part of the first show that I ever went to on home video, and I'm still looking to see the rest of it, frankly. And so that's the biggest request, actually.
Oh, nice. But thank you once again, fans. Go check out Action Tracks. They're celebrating their 10th year anniversary, and even look through the whole Monster Blog catalog. I think you guys in the YouTube channel are date back clear from 2007, 2008.
Yeah, it goes back a long time. It's amazing to see how even our video styles have progressed since then. It's really been remarkable, and so I think the product now is better than ever, and hopefully we continue to develop.
That's awesome. Well, once again, guys, thank you for all your support. Thank you to High Octane Coffee, Joe Sylvester over there in Canfield, Ohio. Fred and Jason and J Concepts, thank you for everything you guys done. Thanks to Brad. Everyone, this is Dan Cheech. Just want to let everyone know, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. We are out.